Hey Terry, it's Heather. I thought I'd take a minute to respond to your discussion board because I really enjoyed reading it. I feel like kind of the steps that you started kind of explaining of not only step one, but like how you would approach like facilitation of step one. I like that you pointed out, cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm a counselor in a private practice in Dallas, and I use cognitive behavioral therapy. I really like how you pointed out in your last paragraph, like you're going to discuss kind of their thought process, their thoughts, their feelings, their behaviors, right? So like, what are the thoughts they were having, let's say, prior to, during, after, like I always like to try and figure out with the client, like, hey, what made you do this behavior in the first place? From drugs to alcohol to sex to video games to social media to food, to companionship, to like all the things that we can be addicted to. How did that first happen? Like, what are they gaining? What are they gaining from that choice? Because that thought process that occurs, I think that is one of your telltale signs of like starting treatment. I like how you pointed out, like, okay, let's talk about their thought process, their thoughts, their feelings, their behaviors, and then go into, like looking at their alcoholism, self reports, and sobriety. I got to thinking when reading somebody else's discussion board, okay, so like this is a lot that we have to discover. So in that amount of time, like how do we want to approach it? And I like the self reports. I love everything that we've studied. It's just, that's a lot of time spent. So with each session, I think the more you find out, the better you can kind of make their treatment plan. I would assume, I don't really specialize in addictions other than like, of course, like with my teenagers, like social media, like FOMO, like, and probably video gaming, like all those, instead of like substances and whatnot. But it all comes down to what's kind of maintaining the behavior. I like that you're going to introduce journaling. I call writing emotional purging, because you get it out of your heart, you get it off your heart, you get it out of your head, you get it off your chest, and then I actually have several clients that'll go back and look, at their old journals. So I definitely agree with journaling. I like that you picked, step one, because it is, like a lot of people are saying on their discussion board posts, like it is one of the most important, because it not only requires vulnerability, it's admitting, right? Like you said, like we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. So ultimately, that first step, admitting you have a problem, like calling somewhere, checking yourself in somewhere, I think that's such a huge step, because that requires vulnerability, but that also requires like, hey, let me admit that I am struggling with something. And that, I think, in my opinion, is like one of the hardest parts about being vulnerable. And so really just building into those steps, right? So I kind of talked about step 3, but what I love about how step 1, 2, and 3 to go together is you're, admitting you have a problem, right? Admitting there's a power greater than you, and then kind of turning towards God. So I like how the manual calls this, like, this is just your turning point to just being able to surrender, right? It's like almost where you take that big, deep breath and sigh of relief for the first time in a long time. So just wanted to give you my 2 cents. I think you did a great job. I'll see you in class. Thanks.